Everybody. Yeah, it's paranormal. Again, no. The mic wasn't on the first time, so we fixed it. So, yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Kaz. And we're here together with the microphone working this time.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
It's fantastic.
It's too close to Christmas. We've just lost our marbles.
Exactly. This is why we shouldn't be in a room together. Because we don't know what we're doing.
We had fun earlier with the remix.
Oh, my gosh. If only we were recording for the blooper reel.
Oh,
would
my
have had
gosh.
you laughing.
That would have been hilarious. Holy crap. Anyways, not much going on this week. Not much.
Not investigation-wise.
Oh, gosh, no. Not this time of year. This is our quiet time that we can, hang out with everybody and do nothing.
And kind of actually go through evidence and, try and start going through all the stuff from months ago. Because we've been so busy. I'm still trying to go through stuff from the summer.
Yeah, I still have audio from St. Mary's that I got to finish up listening to.
We'll get there eventually.
It's great. It's great. But yeah, so this week's episode's all about Kawartha Settlers Village in Bobcaygeon.
Where's my hand? I'm trying to show you, and it's like,
look, a guitar just showed up. Look, I'm turning into a ghost.
You are.
Anyways,
disappearing.
So yeah, the background behind us is it's an older picture that we had, but it's actually the Murphy Barn, which is at Kawartha Settlers Village. So yeah, we might as well just jump right into this. Because, it's a pioneer village.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of stuff, lots of buildings, lots of interesting things. You might see the dog popping here if you're watching. But so we first went in 2021, I think. It was COVID time.
Predated me, yes.
Yeah, it was COVID time because we had to wear masks and everything. I remember that. But we have created
it didn't infect the ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, but we've created an amazing partnership with Kawartha Settlers Village, and it's been amazing. And there's such a great little museum and all that, and we highly suggest visiting it if you haven't yet. 100%. But yeah, so we first went, and oh my gosh, so we've always focused on a handful of buildings, not the whole village. So when we go, we always focus on the Murphy Barn, the Dugan House, or Duggan, depending on who you're talking to, Junkin House, Ray House, and the General Store. We're focusing, I should say, when we first went, we investigated the Henderson House, but we hadn't investigated it since, except for we went back in September, and we investigated it then, and that was interesting. So yeah. But so much stuff happens. It's like
every time. Every time.
Each building has its own story. So let's just start off. So we do a lot of public events there. So we might as well just start off how we do public events. So when we do public events, our first building that we go to is the Murphy Barn. The Murphy Barn is original to the property. It's the only building original to the property. And I don't know the exact build date, but I do know that the Murphy family did own the property, and they started a dairy farm, and it was very prosperous until the 1930s, when a tuberculosis outbreak was linked back to the cows from the dairy farm. How they do that, I don't know. Especially in the 1930s, but due to that, the Murphy family would have then been forced.
What is going on?
I was asking if I wanted to leave the call because I'm the only one here. But the Murphy family was forced to shut down their dairy operation because they were being told they had to purchase pasteurization equipment so that they could pasteurize milk, because non-pasteurized milk was giving people tuberculosis. But anyways, so they shut down operation, And then eventually Jack and Ela Crow came in and purchased the farm. And if we all know the story of these lovely people from Bobcaygeon, they were the ones that started Kawartha Dairy. So that's pretty cool. So we were told that there was a possible suicide that came out of this barn, that somebody may have hung themselves there. It's just a story. They don't really know for sure. So we've just been investigating it. Look at that. You disappeared right
Did. What is
right to the door?
One. Bye, cruel world. There I went. That was amazing. Okay.
She's becoming one with the barn.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Oh. So yeah, so we've had a lot of really interesting stuff happen in that barn.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of really interesting stuff.
I think we always see a man in the rafters. Well, we say man. I think we get the feeling it's a man, but we haven't really identified who it is. But he or she comes around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like on the SLS camera. But people, I think, generally feel something going on, and then boom, there's the person. Yeah. And it kind of goes into the story that someone hung themselves up in the rafter, because that's where they always seem to belong. And they seem to like crawl along the rafter, sit there. Sometimes it's almost like they've dropped down. So
yeah,
we don't know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff that happens like in the front corner. So this, I think this is flipped. The picture is flipped.
Yes.
Because we normally put all of our stuff over here.
Yeah.
So on the opposite side, so where Kaz is sitting, there's like this little like nook that goes in behind. And we always put the ghost box, the paranormal music box there. And it always picks up something for some strange reason in a corner where nobody is. And there's no shadows, there's no movement, there's no nothing. Could be bugs, maybe. But there's just a lot of stuff.
All kind, like spring, summer, fall, winter. So, yeah. And bugs don't seem to be picked up anywhere else in the barn.
No.
And it's a very strange, there's lots of artifacts in that corner too. So it could well be something to do with them. Not maybe the barn itself, but definitely, yeah, that's the one spot.
Yeah, and we do get a lot of, the dead bell likes to go off in there a lot. And
strip lights we've had go off.
Yeah, there's just a general feeling that, you know, you're just being watched in there. Like, it's not necessarily a welcoming feeling, but it's not necessarily you need to get out now feeling, but you definitely do feel that uncomfortableness within that barn. Like and it just could be from the stuff that's in there, but
absolutely. Yeah. And I feel because at the very end is like a stage, and sometimes they dress it up if they're having a wedding or an event. But no matter what, no matter where you go, there's always a weird, different vibe. And maybe it's because each area of the barn has different artifacts and different things in it. So yes, we always start there because we start off as a group. And before we split everyone up, and it's just easier because it's a big space to do that. So we're kind of giving them a taste of what's about to happen. And some nights it's a little like yawn. Yeah. And other nights we're like, holy crap, it started already, and we haven't even got half the equipment out, and we struggle. Yeah, it's one time I have to say, I'm gonna repost this because it is on the Paranormal Seekers Instagram, I believe. We had the strip lights out, and we were just getting ready to leave, and you're like, do you think you could light the lights up one more time for us before we go? And they all went off, and we're all like, whoa! And everyone's like, what just happened?
Well, why are they freaking out like that?
Yeah, it was so well timed.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, good job, ghosts.
And in the summer they have goats.
They do
in the bottom that they come out, but yeah, and they're very quiet goats. I don't think we've ever heard them ever while we were there in the summer. Not even like a bleat. Nothing.
Thank goodness, because honestly, if we're there and we're like, is anyone here? We hear we'll all be out of the barn. Or it's a goat. Yes. A goat.
Oh my Lord. Oh my. So yeah, so the barn has some stuff. It's not like the most active on the property, but it's got some good things going on in there, especially if you're looking to experience something.
Mhm.
It's definitely got that vibe.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So next we head to the Dugan house. So John, and it's Mary Ellen or Mary. I'm trying to go off memory here. So they purchased the house. So they came over from Ireland. They had 3 daughters with them. They purchased the house. They eventually ended up with 13 children. 13 children in this little house.
Yeah.
But then they also eventually built a bigger house, moved into the bigger house, and used this house for the farm hands on their farm. Who those farm hands were, we have no idea what happened after, but definitely one or a few of them have decided to stay behind. Now, in this house, we normally never go up to the second floor. I don't know why. I think we've only been up there one or a few times, maybe because of all the bees. I don't know.
Well, I know when we do a public event, they don't like us going up because the staircase is a little and the killer bees that sometimes are there.
Yeah, bees aren't fun. But yeah, so we spend a lot of the time on the main floor, and in the main floor you got the kitchen area, and then you have the parlor, and then you've got 2 bedrooms on the bottom floor. One bedroom is set up like a regular bedroom, and then another one is set up as a like child's room nursery. Now in this nursery there is a teddy bear, and it's a really, really old teddy bear that they've nicknamed Doogie. And for some reason, Dugan, Doogie. Anyways, story goes that they found them in the wall when they were moving the house, or something to do with the house. And there's a lot of reported activity around this teddy bear. Now, when we go further on, I'll explain to you why and I think maybe everyone else might now think that it might not be somebody in that house that's kind of attracted to that teddy bear. It might be somebody who's on the property that might be attracted to this teddy bear, but we'll get into that later on. But again, we've had a lot of amazing, experiences and activity in that house. One time during the summer, a couple of years ago, myself, Allison, Ryan, who's also on the Paranormal Seekers, same with Allison, and then Ryan's wife, Liz. We went up there, spur of the moment kind of thing, and we were wandering around, and we were in that house, and we were talking about stuff, because we were actually going up there to visit a certain spirit, but we wanted to visit every other house too, so we didn't make them feel like they were being left out. It's just a nice thing to do. It's like visiting your neighbor. But we went up there, and we were standing in the parlor room, and we were mapping something on the SLS, and then we were like listening to the ghost box and all that, and we were talking about something, and we caught an EVP of somebody. Yeah, it was wow. It was like, and it was like really like Ryan heard it with his own ears, and we're just like, yeah, nope, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it till I listened to it. So
I'm not surprised.
Definitely, yeah.
We usually capture we don't know that it was a nursery. It's just set up that way. But there is a little pram or crib.
Pram.
Yeah. And many times we capture on the SLS something in it. It climbs out of it. It's around there. It's very interesting because we don't quite know who or what it is. There's also a rocking chair in the corner, and we've had 2 instances where we've had someone in the chair and then a smaller figure next to them, which is very easy. And they love the cat balls, the ghost spirit orbs, as we've named them. They love those too. Those go off.
Yeah, now that you said cat balls, my phone's gonna be
I know.
Look at like a calendar of furry little critter balls, like wrong cat balls.
Wow. It is Christmas, so you never know. Maybe Santa will bring you.
Yeah, I don't want no cat ball.
Perverted calendar.
I don't need no cat ball calendar.
Oh gosh.
Or Christmas ornaments.
What's happening?
Seems to be the thing.
So yeah, it's a cool little house. It can get really hot in the summer.
Yeah. It's amazing to look at that house and be like, 13 children.
Oh,
2 parents live in this house. I don't know if all 13, in all honesty, I don't know if all 13 ever lived there, because the first 3 Dugan daughters did die young. Like, by the time like the 1970s, I think they were gone, or the 1870s. Ooh. I think by the
years old and they died.
I think by the 1870s, the first three that came over with their parents had all passed away. I think the youngest was like, I want to say 16, and the oldest was closer to 20, I think. But they had all passed away. And I think of all of similar illnesses. So I think it was like consumption, so tuberculosis. But I'd have to look at my notes to be 100% sure. So don't quote me on that one.
But it still leaves 9/10 children in that house, and it's not a very big house.
No,
which is probably why they end up with so many children, because there's not much to do, and
it gets cold in the winter.
Yeah. So I mean, the upstairs is just basically, there is a little room for like a bedroom, and then a bigger room.
Yeah, it was probably like boys and girls.
But I think back in the day, that was just it. Yeah. You know, and that you just
all
shared a bed, and there you go.
Kids got upstairs, parents stayed downstairs.
Now, how long they were in that house for, I don't think it was a very long time, and then they moved. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how many of like the 13 or 10 or whatever actually lived in that house at the same time before like the new one. I have a feeling that it was probably, they were like, oh, we made it to 6. Maybe we should get a bigger house.
We can't move without hitting a child. We should probably get a bigger space. Yeah. Oh, but it's a very unique place. And I find when we call out, you know, the Dugan family, is that you? They seem to respond. So I need to move my light, because now I just look scary haunted, like I've done some. Jeez. Let's not have that angle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a fun. We've had all kinds of different equipment go up, but mostly the spirit orbs, I find.
Yeah.
And the obelisk, they like to talk through that.
Yes, very much so there. So the next on our walk, we go to the Junkin House. Now, the Junkin House is owned by the Junkin family still, as far as I'm told. No. So it's taken care of. Well, it's not really owned, I should say. It's still taken care of by the Junkin family. And they're very, like, their genealogy and their, you know, ancestral research is, like, amazing. Like, someone has taken, so many generations have taken a lot of time to dedicate to putting all of this together. So like they've got, you know, books of newspaper clippings and historical research and all this kind of stuff. It's actually really amazing to see.
Yeah.
And the house, depending on the day, can give off different vibes. Like sometimes it's so quiet, like it's a rest point in between. And we kind of hang out, we talk with everybody in there, just kind of, you know, just ask questions, you know, listen to their stories, what they're experiencing, what they've experienced, what they like, blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes we'll walk into that house and it's like, uh-oh, what did we walk into? Like this past summer, we walked in and the clock was ticking and we're like, this is new.
Yeah.
So I did. So I asked Wendy, who operates the place. And I was like, the clock is ticking in the Junkin House. Like, is this new? Like, did you guys do this? Like, because we need to know, because we need to be able to tell people, hey, you know, don't worry, the clock is ticking,
and chimes every once in a while and scares the crap out of us.
Just dings. But when I talked to her about it, she's like, I will ask the volunteers for the Junkin family, from the Junkin family, and we will go from there and see what they say. And so she asked, and she was told some days it works and some days it doesn't, and nobody's touched it. So tick tick,
yeah,
chime chime, scare the pants off of me, and it scared the pants off of you.
It sure did. It chimed perfectly within response to something as well, and not on the like quarter after, half hour, quarter to, like it wasn't on a set time. It was actually 8:26 that it started chiming, and we were like, ooh.
So shit just fell off my table in my bedroom. I watched it fall off. It probably just slid off because there's stuff on there, but I just, even the dog was like, what?
Yeah, I noticed her be like, oh. All right, there you go, ghosties. We've riled them up.
Should turn on the new REM pause. No.
Yeah, should, or that would be deafened by them.
Yeah, they're pretty loud. But yeah, no, that place is
that. So we can go upstairs in that one, which is good. And the upstairs is a bit oh,
It's
different.
Yeah, it's wonky.
It is, because it's like a fun house, which then kind of sets you on edge. But when you go in, you kind of right into the kitchen, and then if you go off to the left, there's what's going on? Where are the ghosts?
Yeah,
The dog is freaking out in the background.
It's okay. I'm used to it.
So there's, I don't know what that room would have been. It's like a little parlor room, and then there's a bedroom.
Yeah.
And most people, without being told or said anything, are like, oh, I don't like it in here. Like, it gives off a really heebie-jeebie vibe.
Well, that's a lot of people don't know this, but if you look at all these old pioneer houses and these old houses from like 1800s to early 1900s, there's always a bedroom on the first floor, and they would refer that to the comings and goings room, because you'd be born into that room and you die in that room. And then the parlor rooms, well, they really weren't for doing much of anything other than having wakes. That's probably why people feel it, because I'm pretty sure lots of people died in that house, and they had their bodies were displayed in this little room for people to come in and, you know, visit and say their goodbyes. But, you know, that's what the parlor room was really for back in the day. And then when the death care industry started taking over, and there was more funeral homes and all this other kind of stuff, and it wasn't really in-home, you know, wakes and funerals, they had to decide to change this parlor room into something, because people would think parlor room, they think death. So that's why now we call it the living room. It's a true story. It's true facts.
Wow. I've never even questioned why we call it the living room.
Yeah, because now people live in it and they're not just dead.
Wow. We're not just
more you
entertaining.
know.
We're educational.
Oh
That's
my
amazing.
God. Yeah.
I
People
honestly
don't
didn't
know that.
No.
Oh,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting house. And like we said, sometimes you can go in and be like, oh my God, nothing. And other times you're like, I don't know where to look. What's going on in here? We seem to get a lot from the necrophonics or spirit box there. They like to talk more than anything, I find.
And the music box gets a lot of stuff from the front room where people used to die.
Not surprised.
So
Not surprised.
So yeah, it's definitely, it's very interesting. But whoever does their, you know, archiving for the Junkin family, you deserve a pat on the back, because oh my gosh, it's amazing. It is amazing. So after we go to the Junkin house, we stop and take a break. At that point, but we had the Ray house is the next on our list, and it's definitely, again, another building on the property that has a completely different vibe. During the day, it's cool. It feels welcoming. It's, you know, comfy. And then as soon as it gets dark, it's like, yeah, what's going on?
Absolutely. And it doesn't help that there are life-size dolls in there. No. Which some of which are kind of in like a little hidden kitchenette, and if you're not careful, you turn the corner and you're like, and there's something to take in for sure. But I love the Ray house. Is my favorite house. It really is. And we have all kinds of stuff that go down. Sometimes it is very quiet, like almost eerily quiet to the point where like, is something building up, because it's weirdly quiet. And then other times it's just chaos, so stuff's going crazy. We get I think the strip lights quite a lot go off. The music box in that back kitchenette area most of the time is going off. And recently we've had some interesting stuff go off. Or not go off. There's a screen door. So imagine these are log cabins. So there's a really nice screen door and then the solid wood front door. We usually leave the screen door open and we close the wood door. You know, sometimes if it's light out, we want to create the darkness, and other times is because if something happens and someone goes flying out of that house, we don't want them crashing through the authentic screen door. We don't want to pay for that. So a couple of times now, we've had that screen door close on command. And we, of course, go into debunking mode. The first time it happened, we were talking with the spirit through the spirit box. And we heard this bang. I think we were like, can you make a noise if you're here? It was Bob Ray.
Robert.
And you were going through your notes, and you're like,
yeah.
there's not a Bob. And he was so adamant, like speaking through his spirit box, Bob. And then you found, oh, in brackets, Bob.
Yeah.
He's like, that's me. And we're like, can you make a noise? And we hear this bang. And it was you that said, I think that was the screen door. And sure enough, I opened the front door and the screen door was closed. But okay, it was summer. There's no wind. But that's not to say it's just not explainable.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing a public investigation. So we've got, public members being like, what's happening? So we start to try and debunk it, and we can't. And the whole time this man is talking through the spirit box. Mm-hmm. He's taking ownership to it. So I'm like, fine. So we open it, and I'm there with some civilians, and I'm like, you're watching. Like, there's no strings, no nothing.
Yeah.
And we're, the door's not closing. There's no wind blowing it. So then I'm like, all right, Bob, if this was you, can you close it? And you hear him say, sure. And then it slowly just closes. And I lose my absolute mind. Lose the people. And the people who are on the public thing are like, what's going on right now? I understand this. There's hammering people. Get excited. And they're just like, what? What's going on? We were more excited. I couldn't believe it. And we left it open. It stayed open the rest of the night.
Yeah.
It did not close. And that's happened 2 or 3 times now when we go there. We'll be like, hey, last time it was Russell Ray, who was the last living relative who was there. He came forth and was talking. And then I was like, before. And all of a sudden the door closed. And I was like, because it's amazing when it happens. And I will say this. When you're watching those shows on TV and stuff happens and you're like, bullshit, and they're losing their mind and you're like, what? Yeah, it happens for real. Because even though you're there and you're like, I asked for them to do it, you're like, holy fuck, the ghost did that. And especially when you can't disprove it. And we're not stamping it as paranormal activity.
No.
But we don't know how else to explain it.
It happens.
Is it a random gust of wind that didn't blow the other stuff and the trees next to it? Just the door? I don't know. But it's been very interesting. It's a great, little parlor trick, if you like. Not that it's a trick, but you know what I'm saying. In the sense that it really, it makes some people, their eyes are like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, it's doing it again.
And then the one time it almost hit Allison right in the face.
Remember last time we went and we started unlocking the door and you went to open the door and it opened
and the door opened at me, yeah.
And it's a screen door that when it closes, it has a prong latch that kind of, you can't see. I just disappeared.
Your prong latching is
prong latch. I'm going to another dimension. Oh my gosh. I hope you're watching this on our YouTube channel. Just to see the silliness that just happened, but our faces, because we have great faces. So yeah, it latches. So for it to open, you got to kind of pull it semi-hard. So for it to open and almost smash Rachel in the face, and you leapt backwards. You're like, oh my God. And we're
because I didn't expect it to jump at me like, here, open me now.
Yeah.
I was excited.
Like, it's happening already.
Yeah, they were excited.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Ray house. So, but I should say the Ray house was lived in by 4 consecutive generations, family members, before it was donated. And they lived in it till, what is it, 1996. So it is like the oldest house, I think, on the property and the one that was lived in the longest. So it's definitely that's very interesting.
It really is
to see that
place.
Yeah.
And they have quilting in the back. So they have a newer edition, and the Quilting Association of Kawartha.
I have no idea.
The Quilting Guild, that's what it is.
As you can see, there is a
beautiful quilt in the background. We did that on purpose.
Yeah.
They are the ones now that they are the ones that funded it to kind of be brought there and done. So they have their little room in the back, which when you go into that edition, totally different vibe. Totally different. You're like, yeah, I can tell for sure I'm in a whole other area. And so I'm not sure if that sparks something, but It's a really cool, and you're right. During the day, you're like, oh, it's beautiful in here. I love it. And then at night, you're like, what the hell? I had to go back one night. We had like the people had left, and I had left I think it was my flashlight in there. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I had to go back and get it. And I swear to you, I videotaped it because I was like, I need to just, I don't know. And I walked in the house and I felt like people just turned and looked at me like, you're done for the night. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I just gotta go. And I ran faster than lightning out of there because it was freaky.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know that I'd go in that house by myself. The other ones I wouldn't worry too much about. That place and the place we're about to talk to next, I'm not fan.
See, I've been in the next one by myself, and I honestly I don't find it creepy or anything like that. I think there's a mutual respect now.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, this is the for us, this next building is the most active on the entire property, and that would be the general store. So a little background about the general store. Like all pioneer villages, everything is moved there, right? There's always one, original to the property, and everything is moved. So the general store was originally located, I believe, on King Street in Bobcaygeon, so downtown Bobcaygeon. When it first opened up, it was Jimmy Hill's harness shop. So harnesses for horses, I'm going to assume for other livestock for farming. Eventually, throughout the years, it would change ownerships, that kind of stuff. And in the 1980s, it became an antique store called the Raven Loft. Now, a man by the name of Eugene Ray owned the Raven Loft. Eugene was described as very eccentric. He definitely was very flamboyant. I'm going to say, because he's part of the LGBT plus community. And again, you're in 1986, so you're very different. Yeah, in very different times. Definitely not like it is today. Mm-hmm. You were either liked or you were just that weird person, and nobody was coming near you.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't, well, maybe not so much in Canada, but it wasn't even legal to be in that lifestyle, and certainly,
well, I think
frowned upon.
And I think a lot of the stuff in the 80s was, if you were gay, you had HIV and AIDS. Mm-hmm. That was it. No ands, ifs, or buts. Whether you did or you didn't. As soon as you identified as that, you were cast aside and put into that pot. But anyways, Eugene was an antique dealer. He loved his antiques. He loved his teddy bears. And he collected them. And it was said that he had the original teddy bear of Sir John A. Macdonald. Now, being a gay man, he was older. He's in his 40s. He kind of had this I guess, for the younger man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So he was dating a 20-something-year-old by the name of Ricky. And he was working in his antique shop, and he decided to bring in another man named Michael. And Ricky did not like this, and it caused a lot of tension. And one night, Ricky was at his friend's place, Paul, in Aurelia, I believe it was. And he got wind that Michael was at the antique shop. Now, I should also mention that the front of this building was the antique store. The back of the building and the second floor was a private residence, so Eugene lived there. So Ricky got news that Michael was there, and that was it. He was done. He was going in. So he had his friend Paul drive him to Bobcaygeon, and they went in, or Ricky went in, I should say. And Ricky confronted Eugene in his back living quarters on the bottom floor. And God knows whatever was said between them, but it ended up with Ricky taking a hammer and bludgeoning Eugene to death. Now, Michael was upstairs in the bedroom area or something or other. Sure. Mm-hmm. I have no idea how it was laid out. And Ricky knew that. So guess what? He went upstairs with that hammer, I believe. and proceeded to beat the living daylights out of Michael. Then they left and they staged a whole Ricky and Paul, maybe, I don't know, there's a whole lot of stuff. Like you can even, this is all online, so you guys can look it up. They said that they staged it to look like it was a robbery gone wrong and left. Michael survived. Not sure how, but Michael survived. So Ricky and Paul were caught quite quickly, arrested, charged, incarcerated. Funny story is Ricky got out early, but then decided and thought that, transporting meth was a great idea, and subsequently got pulled over and he breached his parole, and guess where he went? Right? So, but I don't know if they have been released since, because this was a while back ago. But I'm not quite sure. You can't find anything on it after that, which, fine by me. But yeah, so Eugene, or Gene, as he has like to be called, is still very much present in the building, and especially in the back. So we went in there not really knowing much, because this was sprung upon us last minute, like, oh yeah, there was a murder in this building. And I was like, what? I did not find this because I did not know. But it was really, really interesting, because we were doing like Estes method, like where he was found. And we were like sitting on the floor, and Ryan was sitting on the floor, I should say. And we had the trip light wire like all around him, like all this stuff. He can't hear what we're saying. We're like asking questions, and we figured we were talking to Gene, but he was very much stuck on like what had happened to him. And it was, it hurts, pain, get out, I'm done, I don't want to talk anymore. And it kept going back to, it hurts, ouch, I'm killed, murder, all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden we were like, I don't even remember what we were asking. It's on our YouTube and all that, on the Paranormal Seekers one. And I'll see if we could post it for this too. But we were talking away and asking questions, and you hear Ryan go, I'm done. And all of the tripwire lights lit up, and you can hear all of us. We're like, what?
Yeah. It was phenomenal. And not only did they light up, they stayed on.
Yeah.
Like just roar.
Yeah. And we were like, what is happening?
Yeah. For a side note, this was the very first investigation I did with you guys as a team member. So I had no idea what was going on. And all of a sudden, this was the finale of the night. And I was like, what the fuck?
We always save the best for last.
Yeah. It was absolutely incredible.
And Eugene is pretty good. But yeah, we've been back many times since. And we kind of laugh, because Allison and I, we have social work background. So we kind of laugh and joke that we've been social working Gene, to let him know that he's more than just his death. Like, he was a person. He had, interests. He was a son. He was a friend. He was, all this kind of stuff. And it seems to be working really, really well.
It does. It's like changed from like, ow, hurts, pain, get out, stop, to
now he's bartering for Boo Buddy. I give you $100 for that bear.
And he was getting saucy one day, calling out, I think it was Kathy. He was calling out the newest team member. He was talking about her. But you can feel that it's changed. I don't know that he will ever leave.
No.
But he's not in this cycle of the attack anymore.
Yeah.
He's kind of come to terms with that. I'm sure there's still anger there, but it's not all about that. And I think that is because of you and Allison just working with them. And it's a voice. He can talk about it. Yeah. Imagine that happened to you and you never talk about it.
Like, that's the thing. Like, we're not going in there going, how'd you die? Where did you get hit? Like, we're like, hey, we heard you had this teddy bear. Did you have this teddy bear? What was your favorite antique to collect? What was this? What was that? We're asking him about himself, not about his, end of life. Yes. And like, I even went to the liberty to find a picture of his mom. And I printed it off, and now it's in a little frame somewhere within the general store. So it's very, you know, we try to make it so like, hey, you know, you did that, your mom, here's your mom. Like, you know,
you still exist as that person in history, and you're not there physically, but we get it.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of equipment that goes off there. REM pods. The dog's trying to get on the couch. But we have REM pods, the music box, the dead bell, EMF. Like, there's a lot of like audio and visual stuff that happens. People have said they've seen a man in there. I don't know if they've seen Gene himself, because Gene was a very big guy. He was like really tall and kind of wide. Fluffy, do you want to? That's cool. Didn't say anything. He wasn't bad, I don't think. But I have some stuff to post for that. So those will post on Instagram and stuff next week when this airs. But or I should say this week when this airs.
Yeah.
But so yeah. So and the dog's on the couch. So if Kaz just grows a tail all of a sudden on the side of her head, it's the dog.
Oh, there she is. The ghost dog in the background.
Yeah, she's like, oh man, can't sit on anybody. But yeah, so you know, and that's why we say Gene was a collector of teddy bears. Now we really think that, or at least I really think that Doogie in the Dugan house, who moves around apparently, is not being moved around by somebody in the Dugan house from the Dugan house. I think Gene is visiting because he's like, oh my gosh, an antique teddy bear. I need to bring it back with me, but he can't get it right, obviously. So yeah, so I think that's, you know, but
and he sometimes makes appearances at other locations and comes through the spirit box, and we're like, why are you here?
Yeah.
But I think it's solely because he can talk to us, and you know, we're listening.
Yeah.
Imagine how many people go through that village every year, and he's like, hello, and they're just like do 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 do. It must be very frustrating. And then we show up, he's like, finally.
Yeah.
I can talk to you, girls.
Yeah. So well, that's pretty much Kawartha Settlers Village in a nutshell. But like, there's other places, like the Henderson house. That one's weird. That one, I'm just gonna throw it in there. Like, we might do a whole other episode just on the Henderson house, because they don't even have history for this house. They've got very, very minimal history, and that is it. Now, it also upstairs stores a lot of their archives and stuff, and it's just, I don't even know. It was just, when we investigated it last, it was weird.
Yeah. Well, that's usually our like command post, if you like. But we don't so much go upstairs. It's more, we're just in the lower level. But I don't know, upstairs is weird. It's very weird. The whole place is very weird, but it's very weird.
Yeah.
When you walk in the house, you're like, hello, please welcome us. Like, I don't know.
Then there's just me who just opens the door and walks in.
Yeah, like, it's a strange. And I feel like every room has a different vibe. So like, you go in and there's the staircase going up, and like a piano, a desk, and then
writing desk. Yeah.
So it's an entranceway.
Yeah.
And then you can either go into a little kitchenette, like kitchen dining room area, or you go off into like the main area. But each room has a different feel to it.
Yeah.
It's a weird place.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It is. It is definitely a weird place.
The whole like, and there's so many more buildings. Was it 21 in total, I think?
I think so.
So we just investigate these ones because we've had so much activity go on. But that's not to say that the other places aren't really cool too.
No.
Because they are. There's a couple of buildings that last September we did a documentary there. We were in one.
Oh yeah, this still hasn't been released yet.
I don't know why. We were great.
Yeah, no, we were fantastic.
So we got to kind of, while ironically they were filming in the Henderson house, so the rest of us, we were doing interviews sort of two at a time. So we were wandering around, and there were different buildings we got to go in, except for one that weirds me out, and I'm not the only one, and we don't really know why. It's actually still used to this day. I'm not going to mention who by or who runs it, but it's a very strange building. And at the time, the Kawartha Settlers Village worker who's there, she's like, oh, I can't find my key. And I later found out it's because she hates going in this place. It freaks her out. And so she just wouldn't go get the key to let us in. But it's a strange place. Yeah. But I highly recommend going. Come to one of our investigations for sure. But go during the day. Go check out all the different buildings. Go a bunch of times. Because we've been a bunch of times. And it's always something different.
Yeah.
We have a lot of repeat customers who come to our public events there because each time you go, something different happens. Yeah. But something always happens. Yeah.
And so, we don't have any dates yet for 2025, but don't you worry. There's gonna there'll be plenty. There'll be plenty.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely go visit. Like it's just, it's just one of those day trips, head up to Bobcaygeon. There's tons of great restaurants, spend some time at the village, like learn about the history. Like it's ask about the ghosts. They'll tell you.
Yeah.
They're not shy about it. Not like some places.
I had a couple on one of the investigations in the summer. They made a weekend of it. So they went up, they got a hotel, they went to the village during the day and just kind of did warm food. And then they came to a thing at night. And then they went to the bar and then afterwards. And then I think they even stayed at a haunted little inn. I don't know where. But it was hilarious. Yeah. They made like a whole weekend of it and they loved it.
Oh yeah. It's great. And it's like cottage country, right? Like,
yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really quaint little town.
Listen, if Gord Downey can sing about it.
That's true.
Listen, we're so Canadian. We had to throw that in there.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Because if we didn't, that would be a dishonor.
Sure would. May he rest in peace.
But anyways, so that is Kawartha Settlers Village. Yeah, definitely. We could post like their website thing and the dog is barking, and we can post the website in our info. I was gonna say in our bio. But we'll post it in our info. And then we can also post like our YouTube stuff from the Paranormal Seekers, so you guys can watch that, read our first investigation story and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool too. But we will definitely be back a bunch of times because it is literally our home away from home.
It sure is.
We should just sleep over there one night.
We should just have keys and just.
Sometimes I do get the keys for the weekend, and it's the best ever.
Very helpful.
But yeah, so that is it for this episode. Next episode is all about Christmas and the dead.
Christmas spirits?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So can't wait to talk about that. Get a little festive. I don't know. I'm going to find some, like dead tree to put in the background. Oh my gosh. So yeah. So everybody send us your stories, send us your questions, send us your topics. Ask about anything. You can send all of that to parehnnormal@gmail.com. That's PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Just search up Paranormal. And TikTok too. Just look Paranormal. Perfect. Make sure that's EA though, because we are Canadian. Gotta get that in there. But anyways, all right, guys. Have a great week. Bye. And don't shop till you drop because it's almost Christmas.